Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for tuning in for another episode. Today I want to talk about some jerkbaits and one specific little detail that I'm starting to see play a much bigger part in terms of success that a lot of other anglers aren't paying attention to, but I can assure you I'm having similar conversations with a lot of other pros that are experiencing the same thing that I am. So before I get into that, I do want to remind you, I do have a members only channel as well. So if you go to my YouTube homepage, click the join button, you can find out all you need to know about the members only page. We do additional monthly videos, a monthly live stream. You have direct access to me. It's a great way to support the channel, and you can learn even more tips like we're going to talk about today. So here's an example of some of the things that I'm seeing. I've been fishing jerkbaits for a long time now. And I've never really come across a time or a place where I felt like a true rattling jerkbait versus a silent jerkbait was making a huge difference in terms of the amount of success that I was having. Now, in some of these instances, I was actually able to use the bait in gin clear water, and I could see how well the fish were relating to the bait. So this is going back years now. You know, if you think about some of the old school jerkbaits like the Rattlin' Rogue, they are really loud baits, but some of the ones that are out today are not quite as loud. They're still considered a rattling jerkbait, but we also have silent models. Well, the silent models, honestly, I never found a great time and a place for. There were instances where in extremely clear water, heavily pressured fish, I did feel like once in a while it would make an impact, but again, not like so much where it was like you had to have your silent jerkbaits. Well, fast forward another 10 years, and I will make a strong case now that you need to have some silent jerkbaits. The reasoning for this is because the jerkbait has become much more of a year-round bait based on how many people are throwing them, which for the most part is almost geared more towards forward-facing sonar. But even if you don't use forward-facing sonar, what we've found is that there are enough people using it year-round that the fish are really getting accustomed to your jerkbaits. So one of the things that I've started really playing around with over the last, I'll say 6 months, last fall and the spring, is working silent jerkbaits back into my arsenal, or at least jerkbaits that don't have built-in rattles. And I'm finding that the fish are relating better to those under most circumstances. The only time I prefer a bait that's got loud rattles is when I'm fishing a jerkbait in really off-colored water. But if I'm fishing a lake that is known for forward-facing sonar, places like, we were just at Dale Hollow not too long ago. You go to places like Cumberland, really traditional jerkbait lakes. Table Rock, we're seeing the same thing over in the Ozarks region. These traditional jerkbait lakes, we're seeing the silent versions, or again, versions that don't have built-in rattles, play a much better role to the point where we're able to watch them now on forward-facing sonar, and we're seeing the fish turn away at a much greater amount with a rattling jerkbait. So I kind of wanted to talk about them today because I really do feel like it makes a difference. This is a standard Megabass Vision 110, and I chose this one because it's relatively clear and hopefully you can see it. So in this case, most of your better jerkbaits now, so whether it's the Vision 110 or you take like your Berkley Stunna, hopefully you can see it in both these. There's actually a heavy, I believe they're tungsten beads with a chamber so that when you go to cast, you have that ball that falls from one end to the other. Really, that weight transfer system is what allows you to get really long casts, and it's one of the things that, in my opinion, makes a jerkbait so important. But some jerkbaits, like the standard Vision 110, you'll see down here, there's a rattle chamber. There's just a couple of beads in there, and those are specifically meant to generate sound. The weight transfer system, that will create some sound because it is a moving particle within the bait. But the reality, like this Stunna, which only has the weight transfer, is a much more quiet bait. I would actually term this as a silent jerkbait because when you go to cast, that weight transfer moves. When this bait's in the water, you don't get that same transfer all the way back and forth. So the only real sound you have is from that ball that rattles just a little bit or moves just a little bit, but it's not necessarily intended to make sound. So you've got baits like the Stunna. You can get the Vision 110 in a silent model that are really starting to catch a lot more fish. But I really got to recommend that with today's current times, the silent jerkbaits that did not have built-in rattle chambers are becoming much more productive. And it's funny because in the last 2 months, I've probably engaged in 4 or 5 conversations with other pros that have brought it up to me, like, have I experienced the same results in terms of, like, you're seeing fish turn away from a standard jerkbait with rattles, but they're committing at a better rate when you switch to a bait that doesn't have those rattles. And I absolutely am seeing that. And the only thing that I can relate that to is the fact that the jerkbait now is being thrown pretty much year-round across the country. Like, it always has been known that it's a great cold water bait. I think there's a lot of us that still threw it in the summer, but it was not like a heavily promoted bait during the summer months. But now with forward-facing sonar, it works really well with that. So people have begun throwing it year-round, and they're having very, very good success. So in my opinion, the fish are getting very accustomed to a rattling bait or the sound, and they're kind of turning away. And I would argue that this is kind of similar to not just jerkbaits, but it's also relevant to other baits like your crankbaits as well. I'm just finding that I'm having better success with silent versions of baits. So give it a try, guys. I want to know from you in the comment section, are you guys out there experiencing the same results? Are you finding that your silent baits might actually be, not might, but really strongly outproducing some of the other versions that have rattles built in? So let me know in the comment section. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say as well. Otherwise, if you enjoyed today's video, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and stay tuned. We'll have a new video coming out tomorrow.